More than 100 people have been arrested in London as further protests took place across the country in the wake of the Southport stabbings. Violent incidents linked to the deaths of 3 young girls have been seen in Hartlepool, Manchester and Aldershot. Police in Hartlepool were attacked with missiles, glass bottles and eggs, and a police car was set alight during the violence on Wednesday the 31st of July. In Manchester, demonstrators turned out in large numbers outside a Holiday Inn in what Manchester Evening News said appeared to be a stand against asylum seekers currently being housed in the hotel. In London, a large protest was staged under the title of "Enough is Enough," with arrests being made after demonstrators clashed with officers in Whitehall. Demonstrators were seen launching beer cans and glass bottles at police in riot gear in front of Downing Street and throwing flares onto the statue of Winston Churchill in Parliament Square to loud chants of "We want our country back." Road closures have been lifted, but a visible police presence remains in the areas.
So, brothers, there are riots going on over here in the UK, and you probably saw on social media. You see there's been some black men being attacked by white mobs. Okay, one black guy versus 10 white people, etc., etc. And these are random attacks, racist attacks. Okay, that's happening over here in the UK, and there's an agenda behind it. A lot of these people who are rioting are against immigration. They don't like black people, and it's becoming pretty serious. It's been happening over the past couple of days, and there'll be even more riots this week. Now, I want to make it very clear that something's going on in Europe, right? Something's going on in Western Europe that you got to be aware about. Some of you guys believe that UK is all biscuits, tea, and crumpets. That we all drink and eat dinner with the king, and we all play golf, right, every Sunday. It ain't the case. It's real things going up over here in the UK, right? To the point where I'm feeling a bit fearful. I guess what? I've got some looks. I've got some really weird looks over the past couple of days. Racist, weird looks to the point where I'm thinking, yo, could something happen? Could something happen? I'm being honest here. I began some weird looks from white people and other people, right? Even non-white people, right? The way people are treating me, people clutch their bags around me, people are me mugging me. This is not only white people. This is coming from Asians, Indians, etc., etc., right? It's becoming really, really serious over here. These riots, okay? And a lot of black men are living and walking around in fear, right? I gotta be careful, brothers. I know gotta be careful, okay? So, don't come here anytime soon in the UK. Don't come here, right? You're seeing this sentiment not only in the UK, but in France, in Italy, and other Western European countries. Yo, what's your thoughts here on these riots where it's clearly anti-immigrant, it's clearly anti-black? I could show you a clip of innocent black man being attacked out of nowhere, Theo, by a mob of people. It's insane what's going on here, brother. Break it down for us, bro. Damn.
To be honest, I'm not usually worried about this because I mean, I just tell them I'm American. And I'm like, if you want some, you can get some. Bring it. I've had French people mess with me before, for various reasons, and I'm like, you should speak German. That's how I am. I really will look at you straight in the eye. I'm like, you want to bring it? Go ahead. I'm pretty big. I'm a pretty big, strong black guy. I don't care, especially when I'm just walking down the street listening to music, which is normal for me, and they start messing with me. I know how to defend myself. I would say in the UK, if I were there, or if I were in France, I would just keep myself to the main tourist areas, because there's no way that the police are going to allow you to be attacked there. That's just the way it is. They have too much to lose. Particularly if you are an American, you just look at them like straight out. If you are a boat person, yeah, that's an issue right now. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. We are definitely seeing this more and more in Europe in particular, but also we saw this in the United States. I mean, people are coming up and saying, we do not like all of these immigrants coming up over here, and we do not like this situation. And this has to be respected, just the way it is. Guys, how do I say this? How do I really say it? I wouldn't be worried about traveling right now to Europe. I just go ahead and do it as normal. I wouldn't go on the countryside, but I go ahead and travel. It should be okay. But the foreigner issue needs to be addressed. There are a bit too many foreigners coming in. It's an issue. It is, our money is being given to them, and people don't like that. They rather the money be given to the citizens who are already there, who are paying taxes. That's a legitimate gripe. Yeah, that's an issue. So this needs to be solved, and I think people should be thinking about how to vote in such a way in order to solve this issue. Not being able to talk about demographics or statistics regarding attacks, particularly in France, just means that one power structure is unwilling to face the truth regarding their policy, their immigration policy. So they need to solve that or be voted out.
Yeah, but I think just to push back here, Theo, right? So, there are some people who aren't happy about immigration, right? But if we look at throughout history, okay, and it's mostly white people that are not happy about it, right? But when we look at, how white people have gone into Africa, into Asia, into India, exploited resources, made billions of dollars, made trillions of dollars, right? Where it's left these countries that they have exploited poor. What are they supposed to do? The countries that, the British Empire has made literally their economy from billions, if not trillions, So, so they can go to other countries, right? Make money, live there. But those people from Africa, Asia, etc., can't come to the UK and other countries. That's not really fair, right? And that's where these rioters lose that battle. Think about the past. Think about the British Empire. Think about what they were doing back in the day. Do you think that Africans, Asians, and whoever could complain about that? That's taken. That's the argument for you.
But I don't see Europe being able to properly integrate the amount of people that are coming over, or having any real plan to doing so. The immigrants who come over are largely unintegrated. And then if we're talking about, again, colonialism, well, when will the colonies left? It is a really long time ago. It's it's over 50.
South Africa. The Boers, there's still white people in South Africa, FBI. The Boers, all these people, they're still there.
The Boers. Well, there's four. Okay. South Africa was colonized. Again, they're talking about the United States in this case. The same thing. Canada colonized. Australia, New Zealand. Those were colonized, made into countries, European countries, are actually pawns of the English crown. Okay, but they're bringing, again, having non-English people go over to the UK and live there. At this point, there really isn't a plan for this. And how many, again, all right, when did colonialism end? It's been, I mean, I'm 51 years old. Most of the colonies were lost before I was born. So basically, after World War II, very few of these colonies were actually able to be retained. And European countries didn't really recover from World War II until they lost their colonies. So it's been how many years? Right? This is what the people have a legitimate gripe here. They're like, hey, look, in the last 30 years, we haven't gone over to your country and taken your resources and done this and that to your people.
We sure feel they do it through corporations, Shell, Chevron, all these, even the Boers Diamond Company in South Africa. Those are white-owned companies that have been there since colonization. They do it through other means, Phil. Think about it. Mm-hmm.
But it's not by the government. And usually it is by a black African or an African leader agreeing for these corporations to come in and do what they want and do what they're doing. And you could say that these corporations are doing the same kind of actions to people in the West. I mean, how many, environmental issues do you have in the United States and the UK as well, where a corporation doesn't say the truth and then people get sick, poison, die, blah, blah, blah. That happens. It's the same kind of corporate abuse. But saying that the people are going to come over to the West and live there is unrealistic. The West does not have the capacity to deal with this many people coming over and being able to integrate them. It's not going to happen. And the great example you have of this is France. They cannot properly integrate the Algerian and Tunisian immigrants who have been in their country for over 50 years. They stay separated. They're not going to become atheist. They're not going to intermarry with feminist French women. It's not happening. For the most part, they're staying Muslim and staying in slums and, having having a lot of kids, right? That's continuing. And these slums are violent. And these are in these areas. These are places where I have to look over my back because they can attack me, and I have to be a little quick. I have to be a little quick about it. This isn't going to go away. So, better immigration policies. Sure, get rid of the corporations there if you want to, but you have, for the most part, an English person born today or born last 50 years has no direct relationship to colonialism and is acting this way. Hey, look, I'm not a part of this. I don't like it. I'm not a part of it. And I don't want to have my tax dollars, my tax pounds being used to finance anything regarding this. And now they're rioting. I understand this. This makes sense.
But two things, right? I think we can agree that there's still some effects from colonization that is still affecting numerous countries all around the world. We can agree to that view. And number two, right? Immigration you can't stop immigration. It's always going to happen because if their home countries are not developed, most people are going to seek for better opportunities. Everyone wants a comfortable life, and the West or Western countries or Western thinking countries are the most comfortable countries in the world, basically speaking. Okay, so people are going to want to keep coming to the West. So until there's a discussion here, in my opinion, as to listen, there's corruption in Africa, in Latin American countries, and certain areas around the world. And if we don't actually address that corruption, and even speak about how Western powers that be, feel Western countries play a part in that corruption too, particularly France and the Francophone speaking countries where France controls their currency and doesn't pay them well for their gold and their resources. Until that's addressed right, immigration is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. So
Well,
that means, sorry, Pio. So that means, right, the powers that be, right, have to give up, that control of Africa, certain Latin American countries, certain Asian countries to curb immigration. Because the only way to stop it is by those countries building themselves up into high functioning first world countries. If that doesn't happen, if the continued exploitation of the resources happen, we know that Africa's resources continue to get exploited until this day. Until that stops, then no one can say a goddamn thing about stopping immigration. Just keep it real, Phil.
Wait, so you're focusing on the French. I mean, the UK is the largest abuser regarding colonialization.
I agree.
Yeah.
Phil.
So I mean, it is very bad. So you're saying stop. Okay, exploitation. Okay, that would be a great policy if it's able to be. Okay, so you're gonna stop exploitation in the West because there's always exploitation in the West as well. So if you look at the former colonies, or where you're talking about colonies who are independent but who are controlled by corporations, well, usually have a local leader who is corrupt and controlled by the corporations. But then you could be cynical and say, what's the difference between that person and somebody in Washington, D.C. or London? It's pretty much the same thing. From a cynical point of view, I understand that argument. They want to have a better standard of life. Well, I'm not sympathetic with them coming over, to be honest. Not at this point. It has to be on a certain level. There has to be a certain plan, and if you're not doing assimilation, there's an issue. What it should be is that you have proper institutions in their own country, and then capital flows over to their country. There's an industrialization. You actually have a buildup of capital and resources in their country, and then the standard of living increases there. That's the best way of doing it. Like you see in Tanzania. That's actually a very good example. If having them come over to your country is basically a reverse colonialization, and that's not going to work. That people are going to go crazy over this. So again, some degree I'm sympathetic, but if this was an argument from the 90s or the 80s, I would be sympathetic to it. Not now. Nah, man. Nah. I can't be sympathetic to this anymore. The British, you're not as strong as a colonial power as you guys used to be. The same with the United States. We're just not going around and doing that. There's just not enough money right now for this. I am somewhat sympathetic to this government, these people, and what they're actually saying. They're like, hey, look, we got rid of the colonies. We haven't been over there. We haven't been able to control these people. They're corrupt over there. It's not our problem. We gave, in the 60s, to the UN, we gave how much money for these projects, and they all disappeared because of corrupt local leaders in Africa. This isn't our problem anymore. We don't care. I get it. I get this. The question is how do you actually do development in Africa correctly so that the people don't want to immigrate and go to the West? No, it's kind of hard to say. Let's hope some countries actually do it. But again, I'm cynical.
Terry, in regards to assimilating, right, or whatever the word is, right? In South Africa, white South Africans haven't assimilated in South Africa. There's even white-only towns in South Africa, but where black South Africans can't even go to. White-only towns in an African country. So it goes both ways, Phil. Like the West isn't innocent, bro. The West is not innocent.
Well, if that is, I doubt that's true now because they haven't been any. De Klerk hasn't been in power since 1991, and so you haven't seen a white leader in South Africa since 91. Since February 1991, I do believe that was the month. So it's been Africans doing that. So then, again, if that's true, that would be the COSA who are implementing a policy of white only. It's not Afrikaners or English doing that. They don't have power like that right now. Right? I don't have a problem with what they're doing. I mean, at least apartheid is gone. Okay, good. But they have so many other problems. Can they actually solve them? I don't know.
Okay, awesome. Great discussion there. Keep safe if you're in the UK. Keep safe if you're in the UK.